In this video, I'll be discussing some ballistic maps I think would be cool additions to see in Fortnite's ballistic game mode. If you happen to enjoy this video, consider leaving a like and subscribing and using code WASOG in the Fortnite item shop. Also remember, at 2,000 subscribers, I'm going to be ranking every single Fortnite skin, so make sure to subscribe. Alright, let's get straight into the video. Alright, so the first map that I think they should add to Fortnite ballistic mode would be a Japanese kind of inspired map, sort of like Chapter 4 Season 2 kind of vibes, as well as like Chapter 6 Season 1 kind of vibes. So basically, my main idea with this is kind of have like the Chapter 4 Season 2 kind of aesthetic with like the more updated kind of builds and stuff of Chapter 6 Season 1, you know, like the new towers we have, the new kind of stuff like that, you know, from Chapter 6 Season 1. And I think this map could have a pretty nice gimmick where there would be like these springs or these water ponds or whatever around the map, particularly in the sites where you plant the device. And just like they worked in-game at like places like Steamy Springs from Chapter 4 Season 2, they would heal you, but they would only heal your white health because shield you kind of have to buy. So I feel like that'd be a bit broken if you just get shield by sitting in the springs. So you could only heal white health, and it wouldn't be too fast, and you'd still get one shot by a headshot by like anything. So it wouldn't be that broken, but it would just be a nice little gimmick to kind of bring some light to this map, you know? Oh, so I know Lucky Landing isn't really a Japanese inspired POI, it's kind of more Chinese, but I do think having a kind of center area that's kind of like that one center building with like the cherry tree in Lucky Landing could be an interesting idea, and I think it would fit the POI nicely, you know? Alright, the second map I think they should add to Ballistic would be an agency/spy kind of base themed map. So I believe this would be quite an interesting map, mainly because you could take like kind of aesthetic from the agency and like the other spy POIs from Chapter 2 Season 2, or even like the remade versions from, you know, other seasons like Chapter 2 Remix, or, you know, later Chapter 2 seasons, or maybe kind of the Chapter 4 Season 4 aesthetic, you know? Those aren't really like spy POIs as much as they are just like kind of like mansions, but they're kind of similar, so I think it fits. And I think an interesting gimmick for this one would be having a center capture area where you can get like a mythic weapon or something like that. A weapon that is like fully modded out and has special stats, and maybe it's just like a completely unique weapon that's not like actually purchasable. Like maybe if you capture like a certain middle point area, your team would get a mythic drum gun, you know? Just food for thought. I think it would be an interesting gimmick. Might be a bit broken, maybe, but then again, you could just disable this feature in ranked and just have it in the casual modes, even though casual is disabled right now because of a bug. But besides that point, I think a gimmick like that could just spice up the gameplay a little bit while not changing it up too much, you know? You could also probably do something cool with this POI, or map I should say, where you have two sites on two different levels. And what I mean by this is maybe you could have like an underground site that kind of has a more grotto aesthetic, and then have an upper area site that's on ground that has a more agency aesthetic, you know? Just kind of make it a bit more interesting to play around, you know? Could be a fun way of playing Ballistic, you know? Who knows? The third map I think they should add should be a Rift Zone inspired map from Season X. So a way I think this map could work is that there would be more than two zones, and each team would spawn in the middle on opposing sides, and you can only get to each other by traveling outwards of your bases. And I think it would be interesting to have a site in each of the four corners of the map and have them based on like a different Rift Zone from Chapter 1 Season X. For example, maybe in the top right, you could have a Moisty Palms inspired site. Then in the bottom right, you could have maybe a Starry Suburbs inspired site. Bottom left, you could have maybe a Tilted Town inspired site. And then in the bottom or top left, I should say, you could have maybe a Retail Row inspired site with like zombie kind of cube aesthetic. Could be interesting. I don't know if each of these should actually have gimmicks, just because I feel like that would be way too much for one ballistic map, but I think the gimmick in itself of having four sites is interesting, and I think it could be real fun. I don't know how well that would play in a competitive setting, but who knows? Maybe it'll be fun. Maybe it would be a bit too much for competitive, but who knows? Who really knows? And the final map I would like to discuss in this video would be a flooded map. Now, a flooded map could be interesting because it would be very different to what we would see with the other maps. For example, I believe that there should be very limited cover for a map like this. There'd be like some walls and stuff on some like boats or whatever, but outside of that, that would be it. It would be a very open map, and the sites would be pretty exposed. So you'd really have to rely on items like smoke bombs or shield bubbles in order to plant the device. And I think it would be interesting if touching the water, like, it doesn't kill you, but it basically sets you up for a death sentence. So maybe there could be like boats around that move around, like that are like moving platforms basically. If you ever played like a Mario game and you have like those moving platforms that you have to wait for, maybe it could be something like that. Maybe make it so that like that's like a well-covered area so you don't like die waiting for the boat. But it could be an interesting way to play the game, and I think that in itself makes it a pretty interesting gimmick. Maybe you could do like a floating trash island as like the capture sites or the plant sites, or maybe you could even just throw on like those little boat deck things. Maybe the capture points or the plant sites could be the little pontoon boats from chapter 3 season 1 and chapter 2 season 3 that spawned in a random spot each game. Could be interesting, and I think it's certainly a fun idea for a ballistic map. Alright, if you guys enjoyed that video, consider leaving a like and subscribing and using code WATSOG in the Fortnite item shop. Also remember, at 2,000 subscribers, I'm going to be ranking every single Fortnite skin, so make sure to subscribe. Alright, see you in the next one. Later.